All right, guys, so I wanted to do a second installment of this intro for the very special $7 moment delivered to us by a good buddy of mine, Tommy Counihan. I screwed the first one up, so I'm doing a second one right now. So those of you who have already seen this, be patient with this, because I got a funny story to share with you that did not make the first intro. Tommy Counihan is a very proud U.S. combat veteran whose $7 moment story is incredibly inspiring. It's also pretty hardcore, and a little bit of a backstory about Tommy. When I first met him, we were over in Hawaii. We were shooting Rock the Troops, and we have a common buddy in Laird Hamilton. So Laird, of course, one of the greatest surfers of all time and one of the greatest brothers around. He said, "Rock, I want to introduce you to a buddy of mine. This is Tommy." I said, "Tommy, it's good to meet you, man." He's like, "Oh, it's good to meet you too, Rock." I said, "Thank you for doing the show." He's like, "Oh, it's a pleasure, man. I'm so happy to be here." He goes, "Rock, can I ask you something?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Would you mind taking a picture?" I was like, "Dude, of course. Get in here, buddy. Let's take this picture." Tommy takes his cell phone and he hands it to me. And then he goes back to Laird and he puts his arm around Laird, and I'm sitting there holding the phone. I'm like, "Okay, cool." And he goes, "Nah, I'm only fucking around with you." And I died. It was so fucking funny. Anyway, so that story just gives you guys an example of the human being and the quality of guy that Tommy is, despite the incredible challenges that he's had to go through. So there's the correct intro that I want to give to this $7 moment. Enjoy it, and Tommy, thank you so much, brother, for sharing your story with the world, and thank you so much for fucking with me. It was awesome.
Hey, I'm Tommy Counihan. I'm 26 years old. I'm a retired Army veteran, and this is my $7 moment. Back in 2011, I was a combat engineer in the Army, and it was something that I've always wanted to do since I was a little kid, was to be a soldier and support my country, do my part. I deployed to Afghanistan in October of 2010, and 7 months into my deployment, I hit a major turning point in my life. While returning from a mission, after clearing a route, we drove over an IED pressure plate which went off directly below my feet in the vehicle that I was in. The blast was 180 pounds of homemade explosives with a 155 shell that pierced through our armored vehicle and did a lot of damage to my right leg. In that moment, I hadn't even realized that I got injured. We even sent up on the radios that everybody was okay, and I just remember getting this sensation that my foot was hot and wet, and that just struck me as odd, but I still in my mind didn't even realize I was injured. And I started moving some stuff off of my feet that had come loose in the explosion, and my heart sunk immediately from my chest to my gut. And I just remember saying out loud, "That's not good, man." And that's when it really hit me, like it struck, and the pain started to kick in, and the panic, and "That's not good, man, this isn't good, this isn't good." And we called in a medevac, and I was taken away in a helicopter. A couple of weeks later, when I returned to the stateside, I was faced with a really tough decision. My foot wasn't progressing, it wasn't healing very well. It had come down to whether I wanted to truly try to save my foot or go the next step and amputate the foot and use a prosthetic to get around. I felt like when I made that decision that day to amputate my foot, that I lost more than just a physical part of myself. And it plays tricks on your head. It brings you into a really dark place that is almost impossible to get out of on your own. I remember the times when I would sit there by myself and contemplate whether or not I should commit suicide, because I was never going to be me again. And it was really hard to get through. It was a struggle. In a way, that was one of my biggest barriers, was the emotional impact that my injury had. And through my therapy, I found that talking about my injury and everything helped me out a lot. It was definitely worth it to get things off of my chest. And I got to tell some of my story, and my therapist learned things about my history that could potentially be beneficial to my therapy. And one of those things was surfing. I grew up in Palm Beach, Florida, and started surfing when I was a teenager and instantly fell in love with it. It was something that I was truly passionate about and felt like I would do for the rest of my life. There was a trip that was coming up shortly after I got injured. It was about 4 months after my injury to go and participate in a surf retreat through Operation Surf and go out to California for 6 days and use surfing as an alternative form of therapy. And I went with a group of other disabled veterans. I just remember getting out there on the first day and paddling out and still being skeptical about just everything in life. I just literally started walking a month before this. And I remember paddling into a wave, a small little bump, maybe 2-3 foot tall, and I heard someone shout from behind me, "Pop up!" And I popped up on the board, and it was slow and it was clunky, and I was wobbly, but I got up. I shifted to my knees, I swung that foot around, and I stood up, and I just put my hands in the air, and I was I was just so ecstatic that I was able to stand up on that board, because in that one instant, I knew that everything that I thought I had lost was just something that I was creating in my head, that I was gonna be able to do it all. And I just had to push myself and overcome these barriers that I had placed in front of myself. And it's one of my favorite quotes of all time that I say to everybody is, "Those who say they can and those who say they can't are often both right." And I refuse to tell myself no. And it's because of that day. And I have just continued to ride that wave, that energy that I caught from that first wave, all the way through my physical therapy to push myself harder and harder and give back as much as I can and share my story to others and hopefully be the hand that reaches into the darkness and pulls these guys back into the light. And as a result, I've gotten together with some of my other veteran friends, some of them combat wounded, and we are trying to start our own organization to help veterans. The program is called Ceasefire, and our goal is to end veteran suicide through the use of action-type sports to build a sense of community and purpose in life. And so the type of community that you get from your surf friends, from your scuba diving friends, from your rock climbing friends, from people that you hang out with on a regular basis, that's a camaraderie that a lot of us military are missing when we get out. It gives us something for our life to be about instead of it just being the military. And I would like to help out with that as much as I possibly can, helping more people transition back into enjoying life, because you only have one and you better live it to the fullest.
Please join me in welcoming and saluting my friend, Tommy Counihan.
Well, guys, thank you for listening to my $7 moment. Again, I'm Tommy. There's some links below for some more information on how you guys could help. Stay tuned for more episodes.